Alright, yo. Hi everyone, it is Luna here. Today we're gonna be reacting to, I believe it's 414 YGO's video, The Shocking Truth About Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelist Kingdom. I am a fan of Yu-Gi-Oh! I enjoyed it when I was growing up. Out of all the card games and Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! I guess if you can count Bakugan and more recent ones like Digimon, I know it's probably not as recent for Digimon, but the reason why I'm prefacing this, I actually collected way more Yu-Gi-Oh cards when I was younger rather than Pokemon cards, and I really got into it, and I love seeing somewhat of the dark side of certain animations and stuff like that. So I decided, you know what, hey, why not? I've been reacting, I've been sharing a whole bunch of Pokemon news. I thought I would go ahead and react to some Yu-Gi-Oh. I really don't know much about Yu-Gi-Oh other than I think personally I watched Yu-Gi-Oh, Yu-Gi-Oh GX, Yu-Gi-Oh 5Ds, and then after that I kind of stopped. I stopped really watching Yu-Gi-Oh like that. My personal favorite one is Yu-Gi-Oh GX, just because I love Jaden and just Jaden really, and it was just my favorite characters. So without further ado, let us get on to reacting to the video. But if you guys do want to watch this video without my commentary, I'll leave the link to this video in the description below. Please go show them support. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to their channel. It does help them out. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel if you guys do like this kind of reaction content. I have a lot more planned for you guys, so if you guys do like the content, please hit that subscribe button. And if you do have a chance, maybe one of these days you can catch me when I'm live on during this time. Hopefully I'm still going live every Monday and Friday. I'm doing these kind of preemptively, so I hope you guys enjoy it. But my plan is to do Mondays and Fridays. I hope you guys are enjoying me playing Hollow Knight Silk Song and just some games along the way. I'll start with rambling and get on to reacting.
Twists that never made it to your TV screens. We all loved Duelist Kingdom for its legendary duels and iconic showdowns, but did you know this fun arc was originally one of sacrifice, violence, and even death in the manga? Why was it toned down?
That I'm not actually too surprised. If you guys know anything about US censorship laws, back in the 90s, they were still pretty more lenient than they are now, like in the mid 2020s and going into the late 2020s. It's really strict with their guidelines. But in the 1990s, a lot of stuff, especially things that were aired on the channel of 4Kids. Don't get me wrong, 4Kids, I love some of your guys' dubs. I enjoyed some of the songs that they produced that were just, they were ingrained in a lot of people's childhood, including mine. So the fact that they're saying, oh, like, oh, it's, well, there's like very more darker tones concepts. The Japanese audience or the Japanese demographic don't really have such heavy censorship laws because anime, unlike in the Western codes, aren't seen as cartoons and stuff meant for younger audience. It's actually seen meant for more of an adult to teenager, or something where they can actually, like, it's basically like reading material. Like if someone goes reads a novel here in the US, where they go and watch something and there or read something, and then it's basically not like escapism, but it's something that you can like put yourself into, and you can see something else like your own to get out of it, kind of.
So drastically, and just how far did censorship go to hide the true nature of Yu-Gi-Oh? Well, let's dive in and find out how dark this legendary arc really was.
Go like, comment, subscribe to the channel. I'm gonna turn it down just a little bit more. I just don't want you to not be able to hear it.
Goes all the way back to the source material. The original Yu-Gi-Oh manga by Kazuki Takahashi was
May he
never
rest in
meant to
peace.
be a light-hearted card game story. It was dark, intense, and focused on heavy themes like revenge, psychological torment, and the real dangers of the shadow games. In the manga, losing wasn't just about dropping life points. It could mean...
So if you guys don't know, there's like, I guess, a hidden Yu-Gi-Oh episode 0 or something where I don't think it aired more than like maybe once or twice here in the US, and particularly in this scene in this episode, it's when basically Seto Kaiba gets his whole personality obliterated, and that was seen as way too dark and gruesome, and that was one of the reasons why a lot of people like, oh, that first episode with Seto Kaiba really like messed me up as a child. And a lot of people don't realize there's an episode or episodes before that where they like where Yugi was getting bullied by Joey and them, and like there's a bunch of like a few episodes before they meet Seto Kaiba before that happened, that they're like, wait a minute, there's episodes before that. A lot of people don't remember that. But if you guys were the ones that seen the original and seen those dark moments with Yugi, I'm with you. I remember seeing this in my brain. I deleted most of the scenes except for the part where they were like beating on, I think they like Joey and Tristan were getting beat up, like really, really getting, effed up. And yeah, it was really, really kind of like, oh, that's kind of happening. I keep pausing because I want to make commentary. I'm so sorry. Forgive me.
Losing your sanity, your dignity, or even your life. The early Japanese anime from Studio Gallop stuck close to this mature tone, making it clear that Yu-Gi-Oh was aimed at teens and older fans. But when 4Kids Entertainment took over release, everything changed. Their goal was to make Yu-Gi-Oh safe and marketable for a much younger audience. That meant cutting out violence, erasing mature themes, and reworking storylines to fit strict broadcast standards. The anime shifted from a narrative about dangerous games and dark consequences to a show that promoted the card game and kept things as kid-friendly as possible. Scenes were sanitized, dialogue was rewritten, and even character designs were altered to remove anything that could be considered inappropriate. This transformation didn't just lighten the mood, it changed the entire feeling of the story. And some of the most unsettling details from the manga were replaced or toned down, especially when it came to the fates of key characters. One of the best examples of how much darker the original story could get is what happened to Yugi's grandfather at the start of Duelist Kingdom. In the manga, Pegasus doesn't just trap Grandpa's soul in a card. He uses the Millennium Eye to seal it inside a regular VHS tape. This detail isn't just
I didn't know that he was actually sealed inside of a VHS tape. That makes way more sense rather than it just being in a card. Because I was wondering, like, how did that happen? Like it didn't click in my brain. He was trapped in a VHS tape and then in a card. But now that they were saying that he was stuck in a VHS tape, it does make a lot more sense. And during that time,
it's unsettling. Yugi is forced to carry around this tape, knowing his grandfather's soul is literally inside.
That's dark as F.
Even more, Yugi can actually put this tape into a video camera and see and...
Oh no.
This constant reminder of what's at stake gives the whole arc a tense...
I'm glad they did not include this. Do you know how mentally taxing this would have possibly been as a child? I feel like I would have been scarred a little bit.
The anime adaptation, of course, changed this, making Grandpa's imprisonment less disturbing by tying it to a Duel Monsters card and leaving out the...
I still feel like it's still disturbing.
This softened the tone and kept everything centered around the card game. But in the manga, that VHS tape symbolized how far Pegasus would go to manipulate and torment...
Gaslight, girl boss, gatekeep.
The only time the original Yu-Gi-Oh manga pushed boundaries with its consequences. And here's a moment that might shock you. Did you know that Yugi put Kaiba in a coma?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Yugi's first two encounters with Kaiba, but excludes many events, including the Death Tea theme park. Now, after their infamous duel, Yugi activated what's called a penalty game. Instead of simply walking away after winning, the Pharaoh, the darker presence within the Millennium Puzzle, punished Kaiba so severely that it left him unconscious for 6 entire months. That's right, 6 months of Kaiba being completely comatose, which actually sparks a lot of the events of Duelist Kingdom moving forward. This act wasn't about teaching Kaiba a lesson gently, it was about making an example of him. This moment captured a different side of the Pharaoh. Far from the guiding protector we see later, this version of him was cold. In his eyes, Kaiba's actions didn't just warrant defeat, but outright repentance on a psychological
I don't remember, like, Mokuba actually at all being shown in, like, the very beginning. I'm not gonna lie.
However, it also highlighted just how terrifyingly absolute the Pharaoh could be in his decisions. Now, in the anime, this was replaced by a duel-ending lesson in humility, and the coma twist was completely removed to soften the fallout. It made you...
Instead of him being in a coma, I think it was that he decided after he lost, he left to find himself for 6 months, and then he came back to his company going into shit.
His victory feel cleaner, but also far less impactful. Mai Valentine, or Mai Kujaku in the original, stands out as a character whose appearance was dramatically altered between the manga and the anime. In the manga, her outfit during Duelist Kingdom was intentionally provocative. A corset-style top held together by strings that exposed the middle of her chest, paired with a short skirt. This design wasn't just for show, it matched Mai's confident personality and the way she used her looks as a tactic in duels, often distracting her opponents and asserting control over the situation. A clear example of this comes...
So, I'm not gonna lie, when I'm looking at the changes to Mai's, like, design, I'm not mad that they changed it to cover up or add, like, more definition or, like, to hide, like, her assets. I actually find it to be way more appealing that they, you know, didn't just have her fucking chest out and her body out like that. I mean, yes, I can see it's more of a confidence thing for the Japanese people, but I mean, at the same time, I'm not gonna lie, showing less skin for some reason for certain people makes it way more attractive than you just showing all the assets. You know what I'm saying?
In her duel with Rex Raptor on the boat to Duelist Kingdom. In the anime, Mai offers Rex a kiss if he wins, but in the manga, she ups the stakes, telling Rex she'll do anything he wants all night long. This bold approach was toned down significantly in the anime adaptation, as well as her outfit that was redesigned for more coverage. Her cleavage was reduced or erased, and her skirt was lengthened. Now, these changes were made to make the show more acceptable for younger audiences in the West, following 4Kids' standards for broadcast. This wasn't an isolated case. The same approach was taken with other female characters and even extended to the artwork on Duel Monsters cards themselves. When it comes to the actual Duel Monsters cards, censorship took center stage with some of the most recognizable monsters.
Well, I'm not too surprised about that. They also made it into a children's card game, quote unquote, and you can't say, you know, it's a children's card game if, you know, there's boobas all the way out. You know, some people have standards for their children, you know, despite everything in the world right now saying how some parents don't care. I highly doubt that no one would bat an eye if there was a, you know what, I can't even say that, there's low punny. I'm gonna keep my mouth quiet.
Lady is a prime example. In the original Japanese version, her artwork featured a revealing outfit and sharp, intimidating details that gave her a striking presence. For the Western release, 4Kids made significant changes. They added a full bodysuit to cover her exposed skin and removed the prominent nipple spikes from her costume, when equipped with a card cyber shield. These edits were all about reducing her sexualization and making the card more suitable for...
Hi, Deku. Wait a minute. Why did you include the side character, the character that was closest to me in this previous scene? What you know what? I'm reading into in this, but is that character, and I cannot, from Gravitation, the BL anime? Could someone tell me that this character, let me see if I can get it to, that one, the one that I'm hiding, this literally looks like the character that is behind me in this scene right now. That looks like the character from the BL anime Gravitation. You cannot convince me otherwise. I am a Fujoshi. I know how this sounds, but this character looks dead ass like him. You cannot say that.
Younger audience. The result was a much tamer look that changed the overall tone of the car.
I do like the new tone of the car.
Mature design became something more playful and less threatening. These types of visual changes weren't just about appearances. They shaped how fans experienced the world of Duel Monsters, making it feel less intense than what Japanese audiences originally saw. But not every unsettling element in Yu-Gi-Oh! Was erased with a digital paintbrush. Some of the creepiest moments were left to the story itself, especially in duels that pushed the boundaries of what you'd expect from a kid's show. Another moment that stands out in the manga.
But that's what I like to say once again. Anime is not always intended for a child audience. Children need to realize that not everything on the internet, not everything in TV, cartoons, anime, movies are not meant for children. If you really care about what your children is watching, please watch it yourself first. I cannot specify this enough. I do not have kids of my own, but I always make sure if I recommend anything to my nieces and nephews, which you guys do know I have plenty of them. I have a big family. When they were young and when I was in anime, I would always recommend that anime that was more appropriate towards their demographic. Yes, there was some scenes, like I recommended my nieces and nephews watch Fairy Tail. If you guys don't know about Fairy Tail, there's several instances where they're just going and stripping naked. That was the best that I could do, unless I wanted, them to fight Naruto. Watch Naruto, and my sister was like, no violence, so I had to respect that. So, but Fairy Tail was okay, because guess what? Half the time, it's not always about them stripping. So, it's literally, you have to be able to give the intended audience and the respect to your kids. You need to be able to watch something and be like, is this actually appropriate for my child? Am I uncomfortable if they ask me questions about certain concepts or things that are being shown here? Will I be able to give them a concrete answer? If those answers are no, or I don't know, or you're not comfortable, then don't show it to them. That is the simplest thing I can give it to you as someone who has been on the internet, who I guess you can say is chronically online. If you are not prepared to answer the questions that the show may pose to you in an effective and a decent manner that you'll be acceptable and happy with later, then don't show it to them, please. Please, if you're not prepared for the questions, if you're not prepared to have an awkward conversation with your child, please do not show them anime that or any media that you have not watched yourself. That's just, and you cannot expect people to be trying to gatekeep things from your kids, especially on the internet, if you're not willing to gatekeep it yourself in your own time.
Is the duel between Yami Yugi and the ventriloquist of the dead, also known as the puppeteer of doom. This character isn't just a Kaiba impersonator. He uses a Kaiba puppet and the real Kaiba's stolen deck to taunt and intimidate Yugi. The ventriloquist's doll speaks with a stuttering, unsettling tone, claiming to be Kaiba's soul seeking revenge.
That's kind of creepy.
It became a game of psychological horror, with Yugi visibly shaken by the bizarre performance and the idea that some part of Kaiba's grudge might be haunting him. Seeing the Blue Eyes White Dragon played by the puppet only adds to the tension. The ventriloquist uses Kaiba's cards and cruel strategies to throw Yugi off balance, trying to win not just with cards, but with mind games. However, Yugi manages to turn things around, eventually winning the duel. Now, in the manga, Yugi then inflicts a penalty game. The ventriloquist is forced to hallucinate that the Kaiba doll transforms into his own image, becoming the puppet master and he the puppet under control. A punishment that's both eerie and
yes, that is very creepy.
The anime changed this duel, removing the ventriloquist entirely and stripping away most of the psychological edge. But the manga kept pushing boundaries, especially with the next Eliminator Yugi faces. Yugi's showdown with Panic, or the player killer of darkness, is one of the most intense duels in the original manga.
His face looks weird.
Just another eliminator. He was designed to be a real threat. In the manga, his appearance is bulkier, his attitude is cold, and his tactics are
looks like a murder.
Intimidation. There was also a scene in the original anime that was removed from the dub where Mai is being dragged away into the darkness by Panic, which gave him a much more menacing
Hey, yo, no.
feel. However, the most striking difference comes from the weapon that Panic uses. A rope noose integrated directly
Rope noose?
into his gauntlet. This wasn't just for show. The noose went around Yugi's neck. If Yugi lost, the noose would tighten, posing a
Hey, yo,
threat.
what? No.
The stakes in this duel went way beyond cards or life points, making the atmosphere much more tense than anything in the anime. The anime adaptation, of course, removed the gauntlet and noose, replacing them with vague threats tied to the Shadow Realm and fire. Lots of
Fire.
This
Lots of
change
fire.
completely erased the immediate danger Panic posed. In the manga, when Yugi wins, he punishes Panic with a penalty game that forces him to hallucinate being hanged, an experience that's graphic and disturbing. The anime swapped this out for a generic Shadow Realm banishment, stripping away the harsher consequences. These
I'm not gonna lie, if I saw the original, I probably would have never watched this again. I would have I don't know what other to say than that. Like damn, this is dark.
kinds of changes didn't just affect the violence or danger in Yu-Gi-Oh! They also shaped how mature or suggestive moments were handled, especially in scenes involving other main characters.
Such
In the
as
original Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime and manga, Anzu, or Taya in the dub, found herself in situations that were far more suggestive than anything we saw in the 4Kids dub. One memorable example was a scene where Anzu is taking a shower.
Why are we showing shower scenes in this? I know that wasn't the original, but wasn't this on like Shonen Jump in the beginning? Hey, yo, Shonen Jump, I need you to answer some questions here. Open up, this is the police.
Beyond fan service, with the focus.
But she's not even cute.
It's a fleeting part of the story, but it signals the manga's willingness to push boundaries with the anime's sanitized tone. The other questionable moment from this part involves Joey and Tristan.
Hi, Tristan. Hi, Joey.
Try to spy on Anzu while she's changing. This classic pervy act isn't just played for humor. It underlines how the manga leaned into awkward, more adult encounters. However, 4Kids Entertainment stepped in to make sure this behavior didn't appear in the anime, which was marketed as a family-friendly show. So this part was completely removed.
Yeah, I'm not too surprised.
In 22, Tail was attacked by a mugger. However, in the Japanese version, she was filmed by a pervert videotaping.
Oh.
The scenes involving using his video camera.
Hey, yo.
First-person view were cut from the dub version of the anime completely.
Good. I'm good. I'm happy. I'm happy for that.
Came in episode 28. While Taya, Tristan, and Bakura are investigating.
Hi, Bakura. Hi, best boy.
About to climb one of the towers. Taya complains about having to climb up the rope first because Tristan and Bakura would be able to see up her skirt. In response, the two boys wear blindfolds while climbing.
That's dumb.
In these moments, the anime abandoned much of the manga's edginess. Anzu's character in particular shifted away from being a focal point for these risque situations. Instead, she became a more straightforward and platonic supporting figure. One of the clearest examples of censorship in Duelist Kingdom is how the anime handled guns.
I love this kind of thing with the censorship of guns in the US. Everyone says that we're known for our guns here, but you will never see a gun in a children's cartoon, despite apparently these being such a frequent thing in schools. Sorry, I just had to. Like, this shit's crazy. It's actually fucking insane. The guns, like the censorship that they had in the 90s, they would literally just delete it, but they're holding their hands in that position. Like, we know it's supposed to be there. Like, come now. Don't try to play us for fools.
Japanese version of the anime, Bandit Keith, after losing to Joey, he confronted Pegasus with a gun, showing just how desperate and ruthless he'd become. The weapon was central to the moment and made the threat feel real. But in the dub, this was completely changed. Keith just points his finger at Pegasus.
Yeah, see, exactly.
Which takes away all the intensity and danger from the scene. The same thing happens with Pegasus's goons.
Exactly.
In the Japanese version, they pull guns on Kaiba, but in the anime, they just pointed their fingers instead.
Pointing their fingies.
Almost comical. These changes were more than just edits. They shifted the tone of the entire series. By removing firearms and replacing them with finger gestures, the anime lost the sense of real danger that the manga built up. The stakes felt lower, and the characters' actions didn't carry the same weight. Of course, not every dangerous moment was erased. Some of the most intense scenes in the manga still made it through, even if they were toned down or changed for the anime. Kaiba's boldest and most badass moments in the manga aren't just about his dueling skills. They're about his ability to take dangerous situations into his own hands. One of the most
Kaiba
happens when he is confronted by a former Kaiba Corp employee. The man pulls a gun on Kaiba, and what does Kaiba do? He blocks the attack by throwing a Duel Monsters card at the gun, jamming the weapon, then taking it for himself. It's a shocking display of nerve and precision, showing that Kaiba doesn't just rely on strategy.
We love Seto Kaiba in this house. We are Seto Kaiba Simps in this house.
Games. He's ready to physically defend himself if it comes to
Yeah, he's ready to hurt them.
This scene also added to the brilliance that is Seto Kaiba and how far he plans things in advance. Do you know what card he used to jam the gun? Well, it was Gyaku Tenno Megami. What makes him use this card specifically brilliant is the fact that the card's name when translated is Goddess of Reversal. Kaiba used this card to reverse his situation. Amazing. Now, the manga
Do you get the card back?
Seen to another level in what I like to call the helicopter incident. So, after jamming the gun with the card, Kaiba doesn't stop there. Once he has the upper hand, he breaks the man's finger, delivering a brutal message, showing us readers that Kaiba doesn't tolerate anyone standing in his way. Now, after discovering that the people flying him to Duelist Kingdom are loyal to Pegasus and reversing the situation in his favor,
He holds them at gunpoint.
Despite being thousands of feet in the air, he forces them out mid-flight, risking just to ensure he can take control of the aircraft. And his dialogue throughout all of this is a testament to how brutal.
If you want to kill me, you have to kill the cards. Okay.
Moments define Kaiba's ruthlessness and relentless drive.
You worthless piece of trash.
Significantly, stripping away much of his menace. Now,
I'm not even gonna lie. He's still a complete menace, though. This motherfucker is still a menace, but not in like, oh, I'm a twisted dark mastermind. More so like, oh yeah, I'm gonna fuck you up just because I'm here. My whole ass presence is a threat to you. I perceive you as a threat. I'm gonna end you as a threat.
Brutality didn't stop at the helicopter scene. When Kaiba arrived at Pegasus's castle in the manga, his impatience and sheer determination were on full display. He wasn't there to negotiate or wait for formalities. When Croquet, Pegasus's right-hand man, tried offering to set up a meeting the following day, Kaiba didn't hesitate to make his move. Grabbing Croquet by the collar, Kaiba immediately established that he wasn't going to sit idly by while Pegasus toyed with him. But it didn't stop at intimidation. Kaiba pulled out a gun and pointed it directly at Croquet's head. A shocking display of just how far he was willing to go to.
He had a gun because he disarmed the other guy.
Kaiba even referenced Saru Watari,
the hair guy. Yeah,
reminding him of his training and showing Kaiba's familiarity with weapons was no accident. It wasn't just about power, it was about ruthlessness and strategy.
Ruthlessness.
Following this, Kaiba took Croquet.
Hey, he put it in his head.
Threatening to snap his neck in a briefcase if Pegasus did not speak to him immediately.
You know what? I think I would have liked the more darker, serious Kaiba. Not saying like the other Kaiba wasn't as serious, but I would have loved to see him nearly break his head open with his briefcase. I'm not gonna lie.
Shortly afterwards, Pegasus appered on the screen.
Oh, Kaiba boy!
if he could beat Yugi in a duel. These moments moments cemented the dark side of Kaiba's character, showing not only his desperation, but his cold, calculated willingness to use violence as a tool. The anime completely removed this scene, softening Kaiba's personality and stripping away this gritty anti-hero edge. Without it, the complexity of his character felt diminished. One of the most surreal and early symbolic moments in the later Yu-Gi-Oh! Duelist Kingdom arc comes during Yugi's dream sequence, which was heavily censored in the dub to avoid controversy. In the original version, Yugi dreams that his grandfather's soul, trapped in a card by Pegasus, calls out to him. He runs through an ominous courtyard only to find 3 massive stone crosses, each bearing the cards imprisoning the souls of his grandfather, Mokuba, and Kaiba. The imagery was clear. These crosses symbolize suffering and sacrifice, and their religious undertones add an unsettling depth to the scene.
I kind of don't want to know what this means. Of how if anyone knows anything about Christianity, if this is going where I'm thinking it was gonna go, I'd rather really not know.
Eerie atmosphere was heightened by a final shot of a church in the back.
Why church?
The weight of this spiritual struggle. Unsurprisingly, the dub anime heavily altered this sequence. The crosses were replaced with generic stone pillars, eliminating the
obelisks don't make it helpful either.
Inconsistencies remained. One shot still reveals an arm extending from one of the crosses, a haunting detail the censors missed. To further sanitize the scene, the church in the background was also removed entirely, softening the dream's impact. This censorship robbed the sequence of its dramatic intensity. It dulled the symbolism of characters' internal struggles, ultimately transforming a deeply thematic moment into something far less thought-provoking. Now, in the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Manga, the tone wasn't just darker, it was sharper and much more direct, especially in how characters spoke to each other. Swearing and harsh language weren't uncommon, reflecting the teenage audience the manga was aimed at. Characters like Kaiba, Bakura, and even Yugi himself weren't afraid to drop cutting insults or display raw frustration. This edge gave their dialogue a more realistic and emotional weight, adding to the intensity of their conflicts. It wasn't unwarranted, but deliberate, used to emphasize the stakes and underline the characters' personalities. For example, Bandit Keith was far more aggressive in the manga.
Probably more vulgar too.
Opponents, he would throw in comments laced with profanity or arrogance, painting him as someone who stops at nothing to assert dominance. The dub anime, of course, completely scrubbed his swearing and dialed back his sharpness. Keith still had an ego, but
why the flag? Why the flag there, buddy?
Content in his language was watered down, making him less intimidating in comparison. Without this harsher dialogue,
I'm not gonna lie, he probably was more intimidating in like the Japanese version, but I'm not even gonna lie. When I was younger, I thought his ass was just fucking goofy. I can see why they would, want more serious tone with him, because honestly, he was just a goofy ass motherfucker right there. I'm not gonna lie, he was just goofy.
The dynamics between characters in the anime became much softer. Interactions that carried raw emotion or intense hostility in the
Bugman,
or even sanitized in the dubbed anime. And while this softened tone helped the series fit into Western children's programming, it sacrificed the emotional depth that made the manga relationships stand out. That rough,
I'm not even gonna lie, the lack of pupils in all of these characters' eyes during some of the scenes is very disconcerting, because that usually means like there's like an out-of-body experience, or like they're not really here.
Filtered edge was integral to the tone, and its absence created a noticeable gap in how dramatic moments unfolded. Sticking with Bandit Keith, his story in the manga is on a whole other level of dark. His backstory paints him as a former United States Duel Monsters champion, someone who rose to the top only to come crashing down after being humiliated by Pegasus. But what makes it grittier is how the manga digs into his downfall. Keith turns to gambling, substances like alcohol and drugs, and even dangerous games like Russian roulette, which, keep a note on that one by the way. This all showed us a man who spiraled deeper into his own failures. And this adds layers to his character, a man consumed by pride and self-destruction. None of this was...
But then why would he allow himself to be used by Pegasus in the Duelist Kingdom, but I guess he was trying to kill Pegasus or get back at him to get back his status or whatever. I'm just gonna let it play.
In the anime, which waters him down to just another cocky bad guy. Now, one of the series' most darkest moments involves Keith. After he loses to Joey in the manga, Keith's desperation peaks. He confronts Pegasus with a knife, demanding his promised
knife.
Pegasus, he has no sympathy. Instead of rewarding Keith, Pegasus uses his Millennium Eye to cast a horrifying penalty game called Hand and Gun. Keith's hand is transformed into a revolver, forcing him to play Russian roulette against himself. Keith ultimately pulls the trigger.
Oh!
This graphic moment highlights the consequences of his choices and Pegasus's cruelty. The anime
He is just dark. That's just dark. I don't even know what to say to that. That he transformed this man's hand, made him shoot himself in the head in order to get this man to perish because he didn't enjoy it. Okay.
All of this, turning Keith into a throwaway villain, completely erasing one of the manga's boldest and bleakest moments. Pegasus's motives in the manga were much darker and far more personal than what the anime portrayed. While the anime played up his obsession with duel monsters and the Millennium Puzzle, the manga revealed a deeper, more tragic layer to his character. Pegasus wasn't just chasing power, he was trying to use Kybercorp's groundbreaking holographic technology to recreate his late wife Cecilia. This wasn't some small side goal, it was the driving force behind everything that he did. Winning the Duelist Kingdom tournament wasn't about the thrill of victory. It was a calculated move to seize control of Kybercorp and further his plans. This mix of grief and hunger for power made Pegasus an
So he had an obsession.
He didn't hesitate to manipulate and exploit others to achieve his goals. A great example is how he used a child to humiliate Bandit Keith for trapping Yugi's grandfather's soul in a VHS tape. The manga consistently reinforced his ruthlessness, showing Pegasus was willing to cross any line. But when the
mercy without the end. Sorry, everything musical is on the brain.
Villain, dramatically reducing the emotional and sinister weight he brought to the duel.
Okay, so I'm not gonna lie. My understanding to they just said his name. But anyway, so the guy that's on the screen here, I don't believe that it wasn't as heavy as it could have been. Do I still feel like the 4Kids dub did a decent job at addressing his backstory and showing that he was a menace, not just that he was some type of eccentric boy. I mean, in all things, yes, they could have made it darker, but I feel like at the same time, having Yu-Gi-Oh! And his Pegasus, there you go, there's what's his name, Pegasus' backstory be out as it was, I still felt like there was still that heavy depth to it that was needed. I don't feel like I was lacking in anything.
Kingdom arc. Now, in the manga, Pegasus' fate is sealed in a way that completely shifts the tone of the story. After Yugi defeats him and the Duelist Kingdom tournament ends, Yami Bakura appears. And this isn't one of those dramatic interruptions with vague threats. Bakura murders Pegasus directly from his eye socket and even licks the blood off the artist. This act isn't played up with flashy effects or softened visuals. It's brutal and it makes the consequences of the Millennium items feel terrifyingly real. Pegasus, who had until then been this all-powerful villain, is reduced to a lifeless body in an instant. In the anime, things play out very differently, of course. Pegasus survives his defeat and is shown recovering with no sign of the violent end he meets in the manga. He even goes on to appear in later arcs.
Okay, so I have a question. So in the manga, Pegasus just but in the manga, this dude just straight up is gone? Hey, yo, what? They just out here just wiping people?
takes away the sense of real consequence that the manga delivers. The decision to keep Pegasus alive in the anime, well, it softened the impact of the story's ending and removed the sense of danger that came with the Millennium items. This difference highlights just how far apart the manga and anime are in terms of tone and stakes. Looking back, it's wild to see just how much changed between the original Yu-Gi-Oh manga and what most of us watched on TV as kids. The manga had moments like Kaiba being left in a coma after a penalty game and Pegasus's brutal death at the hands of Yami Bakura. Scenes that 4Kids dub either changed or cut entirely. These differences didn't just change the tone, they completely reshaped the story and its impact. Which of these shocking manga moments stood out to you the most? Drop your favorite in the comments below, and if you want to know who had the strongest deck in Duelist Kingdom...
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and just stop it there. If you guys aren't already, don't forget to like, comment down in the comment section below, and subscribe to 414 YGO's YouTube channel. I'll leave all the links to this video and to his channel in the description below. But let us get on to the just chatting screen here. So, how do I say this? I'm not gonna lie. I knew that certain, like, a lot of, like, even like Pokemon in the early days was kind of dark. I, in all honesty, did not know that Yu-Gi-Oh was this dark. And completely honest, it makes me want to read the original manga. I don't know if the English translation would have kept everything, especially with the censorship from back then, and I don't know even if it has the more recent release of manga in English. But if you guys do know if the English adaptation of this manga is available, or if it stayed true to the original source material, unlike the anime did, please do let me know. If you found any of this surprising as much as I did, or you learned something new about Yu-Gi-Oh, well, I'm glad you did too. I'm glad I got to watch this. I would like to leave you guys on one last thing. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to this channel. Please come check me out if you can when we're live. We should be live every Monday and Friday until the end of this year of 2025. I would love to see you guys when I'm live. Don't forget, my dear crewmates, the world is a better place with you in it, my dear crewmates. Please do keep your head above water. Make sure you're indulging in some self-care. Make sure you're eating good food. Make sure you're getting plenty of sleep. I know I need to do that. Please make sure you check in with your loved ones, making sure that they are safe, making sure you're communicating with them that they are loved, they are wanted, they are all that you need in this world. Please tell your loved ones that they are loved. Also, never stop exploring the wonders of the wonderful world when it's safe to do so. The streets are not safe currently in this world and demographic, but please, if you are traveling as we're coming up on holiday times, please stay safe. Make sure you are doing the best to stay safe while you're traveling. I hope to see you guys when you land, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Thank you guys so very much for coming. I hope you guys will come again soon. Bye-bye.